Welcome back to Watch the Bookerman and to episode number 88 of Paul Heyman's TNA. We're coming off the back of a huge week for the company. We debuted on MTV, but it wasn't just on screen where the stories were getting a little bit crazy, as Bobby Lashley was signed, stolen away from us by Pro Wrestling Noah. Quite a surprising company to have someone stolen by, but what it means for us is that plans have been torn up for the next 2 weeks of TV and for Slammiversary. So let's get into what is basically a little bit of a rejigged build to the second biggest show of the year, and we begin with a recap of last week's on-screen stuff featuring footage of ROH spokesman Steve Corino issuing a no-holds-barred takedown of Paul Heyman and TNA as he made his first appearance in the company. Later in the night, TNA representatives AJ Styles and Wrestling's Greatest Tag Team defeated Austin Aries and the Wolves, Styles handing Aries his first defeat in TNA. We then see a clip of Aries' furious reaction that aired on Evolve, Mauro and Taz welcoming viewers to the second Impact on MTV, where AJ Styles and Paul Heyman and Austin Aries and Steve Corino will meet in the middle of the ring tonight for negotiations regarding the situation of the ROH World Championship and how and if it will be defended at Slammiversary. Before then, however, we will witness the final face-off between Amazing Red and Kevin Steen, a 2 out of 3 falls match between them, which will see the victor join Samoa Joe as a competitor in the King of the Mountain match for the Evolve Championship at Slammiversary, another thing that was announced on Evolve, and we go into that match 2 out of 3 falls simply because they've had 2 matches previously, 1 win each, and the first fall, despite saying by 2 straight falls, Amazing Red once again surprises Kevin Steen with a pinfall. So if this had been a 1-fall match, Red would have won the rivalry. However, Steen manages to cheat, maybe an eye poke, maybe a low blow, and gets the second fall. Homicide is mad with this, he comes out, but Amazing Red asks him to keep out of this. This is something he's got to sort out himself. As the referee is distracted with Red and Homicide's interaction, Steen again takes the low road. If he used an eye poke last time, it'll be a low blow this time, followed by a package pile driver. Steen wins, but very much a tainted win for him as we continue to establish what a dastardly heel he is. We end that storyline. However, obviously Red is not going to be happy, but things are developing in a slightly different direction now, and Steen is interviewed after the match by SoCal Val. She confirms his place in the King of the Mountain match at Slammiversary, where that first ever TNA Evolve champion will be crowned. Val asks Steen for his immediate thoughts. Steen says that everybody has seen what he's capable of in his match with Red just then, and he is ready to go to war at Slammiversary. Samoa Joe has already been named, but it doesn't matter who is between him and the championship. Steen will take out anybody, like he's taken out Joe before, to become the first Evolve champion. So a very confident promo from Kevin Steen, and it would be a huge accomplishment for him 6 months into his run in TNA to become the first Evolve champion. Of course, it'd be massive for any of the guys who will find themselves in that match. The Wolves are seen entering the office of Paul Heyman, looking to intimidate the man in charge ahead of tonight's in-ring confrontation with Austin Aries and Steve Corino. They also share a message from Paul's investor. Before they can deliver much of that though, Heyman gets to his feet and he's standing up to Edwards and Richards. He's had enough and he is sick of them trying to push him around. He quickly realises that growing a backbone wasn't a good idea. He is grabbed by his shirt collar by Richards and he tells him to watch his mouth. Paul is immediately apologetic. He doesn't want to be on the wrong side of Davey Richards, but before things get worse, Mr. Anderson and Matt Morgan run into the room. Richards pushes Heyman back to his seat and leaves with his partner. He doesn't want to get into anything with Anderson and Morgan. Anderson asks Heyman if he's okay, showing genuine concern, although we obviously feel like he must have an ulterior motive here. He says that they were just coming to speak with him about the meeting last week when they heard this commotion. He senses opportunity, of course. He smirks as he asks if Heyman has considered their proposal. Heyman doesn't look happy, he gulps, but reluctantly he nods his head. It looks like while he may not want to go into business with Mr. Anderson, he's kind of being left with no choice, or certainly in this vulnerable position, Anderson is able to take advantage of those fears. We then go into the second match of the night. Mischief at ringside as Alyssa Flash defeats Daisy Hayes. A decisive victory, some offense for Hayes, but ultimately the inverted cloverleaf makes her tap out. Another decent performance from Alyssa Flash, although we did cool the crowd with this match, so not so good, but it is just continuing the current storyline between Flash and the New Age, and this goes on after the match. Flash having her arm raised in the ring, she returns turns then to the downed Daisy Hayes and locks in the inverted cloverleaf once again. She is angry and she's going to take it out on Daisy Hayes to see what Mischief's reaction is. Maintaining eye contact with her former partner while she stands on the outside, Flash tells her to come in and save her new friend. This woman's supposed to be her partner. She's supposed to have struck up this relationship with her. Well, why doesn't she prove it? Mischief refuses to enter the ring, so this Flash throws Daisy Hayes to the outside. She's not really interested in her. This is about Mischief, and she invites her to join her in the ring once again. Mischief, however, walks away, Flash taking a microphone to address this, as she tells her that she would have a lot more respect for her if she just stood by what she did at Sacrifice. Their friendship is done, they're not reconciling, so why can't she just own up to what happened? Their team is done, and it's no surprise to anybody, but Alyssa Flash officially has quit the New Age. She wants Mischief, and if she doesn't grow a backbone before then, she's making that challenge for Slammiversary. So a potential huge spotlight for these two women. They've been booked decently as a tag team, don't get me wrong, but you'd have to say that this would be the biggest match of each of their careers. Well, perhaps tied with a match where they won the Knockouts Tag Team titles exactly a year ago. We then get an interview with the World Heavyweight Champion Kurt Angle. He's been asked about Bryan Danielson's attempts to force himself into the title picture last week. I did actually book that with one eye on the idea that Bobby Lashley hadn't actually signed yet, so in case something like that happened, we did have a backup, but that was very much a 99% sure that he'd stay, 1% that he'd go, so it was a big shock to see Lashley leave us. Thankfully, we do have something of a cover for that, albeit Lashley will still be able to have the match with Angle at Slammiversary. Kurt remains respectful towards Bryan Danielson, saying that he has no doubt that one day he will be competing for the World Heavyweight Championship here in TNA, but right now there's a settle to score between Angle and Lashley, and they want to get that done at Slammiversary. JB asks about Bryan's comment on his current record compared to Lashley's, but Angle says that isn't for him to comment on. He isn't the guy who makes the matches, but Lashley is owed a title shot after what happened in January with the New Age, and he feels that that should take place in the main event at Slammiversary. Whatever happens between Bryan and Lashley and Paul Heyman, that's not for him to comment on, just that he can express his preference to face Bobby Lashley at Slammiversary in the main event. We then get another match which is to qualify for the King of the Mountain, and Desmond Wolfe defeats Frankie Kazarian in 11 minutes and 59 with a Tower of London. Unfortunately, an injury sustained to Frankie Kazarian, broken tailbone. It's not the worst injury, but it doesn't seem like something that would be comfortable to work through. Desmond Wolfe with a good 77, but I do think the match rating is hurt by Frankie Kazarian being injured there. He benefited from a hot new move. Desmond Wolfe shone in this match, and just as well, because he's the man going on to the TNA Evolve Championship match at Slammiversary, and he has his arm raised following the win. The commentators confirm he will join Samoa Joe and Kevin Steen in the Evolve Championship match at Slammiversary, and on Saturday, Evolve, we will hear from Desmond Wolfe about his victory and how he feels about potentially winning the TNA Evolve Championship. Returning to the second hour of Impact, the challenger to the Knockouts Championship at Slammiversary, Mickie James, makes her way down to the ring, cutting a promo where she again confirms this. Sarah Del Rey said that the match had been made this Saturday on Evolve, but we're also confirming it here on Impact. She talks about coming to TNA, the new lease of life it had given her, and the fact that she feels that she is doing her best work ever inside the six-sided ring, and she thanks the fans for that. They have got behind her from day one, and she promises to bring the best version of herself to this pay-per-view. Sarah Del Rey then comes out from the back and puts over her dominance, so this is really just an establishing promo for both women. Mickie putting herself over as the challenger, Sarah Del Rey putting herself over as a champion. It's pretty straightforward, but having these two go face to face hopefully will build some hype for the pay-per-view, and she says that she has beaten everybody in this division since she arrived at this company, even Mickie James. And while she has already defeated her before, she does accept she is a worthy contender to the title. You can just look at Mickie's record since coming to the company. She deserves this shot. Mickie also accepts how good Sarah Del Rey has been, saying that she doesn't always like her methods or who she finds herself associated with, but she is undoubtedly one of the best wrestlers in the world. However, at Slammiversary, Mickie James intends to prove that she is that as well, and she is coming for the Knockouts Championship. I jumped the gun there a little bit because it's actually now that she says that she's not always a fan of how Sarah goes about her business, but offers her a hand ahead of their match. She wants all of that to be forgotten because it's about Mickie James and Sarah Del Rey. Del Rey considers it before slapping Mickie in the face. She wants nothing to do with it and walks off. Mickey's clearly not very happy about this, but all that's going to do is fire her up even more for the upcoming Knockouts Championship match, and I think that this match at Slammiversary is going to be the biggest and hopefully the best Knockouts match that we've done so far. We then get a match between Bryan Danielson and Douglas Williams, the focused, determined Bryan Danielson defeating Williams, who is no slouch, especially in terms of his technical wrestling, in 4 minutes and 53 with a cattle mutilation. This is just showing how good Bryan Danielson is, and with these continued victories, the momentum he's building, his performances are improving to a level where perhaps soon he can be considered a World Championship contender. He is then joined in the ring by Jeremy Borash after the match, who I didn't put on screen, and he's asked about Kurt Angle's words from earlier. Danielson says that if Angle doesn't think it's his time yet, he clearly hasn't been paying attention since October 2010. Bryan says that he's won more matches since he debuted at Bound for Glory than Lashley has in over 2 years in TNA. A pretty damning statistic, you'd have to say. Lashley has very much been part-time throughout this save, so the fact that Danielson can use this as ammo really does hit home his credentials. Danielson says that when it comes to the top title, personal history between Angle and Lashley shouldn't count for anything. The World Heavyweight Championship should be defended against the most worthy challenger, and if that's not the case, then as far as he's concerned, that title is not fit for purpose. So Bryan Danielson even playing to Paul Heyman here and to Kurt Angle's pride in the championship coming out from the back. It appears that Bobby Lashley disagrees with this and is much less tactful in his response than Kurt was. Lashley says that this is as close as he will ever get to competing in the same ring as him. Now he tells him to get out of there because he's got a pay-per-view main event to talk about. Bryan refuses to back down, the two going nose to nose, and as neither man will take a step back at all, it looks like things are going to get heated between these two. We do go to a break, however. Lashley clearly enjoying having the freedom to go off script and performing well. That's really good to see, advancing the main event storyline, and it's a good segment overall, I have to say. Returning from the break, the commentators explain that Bryan Danielson and Bobby Lashley had to be led away from their face-off by security and backstage personnel. Neither one of them was willing to back down. We then head to the back where Paul Heyman has called Kurt Angle into his office. Paul Heyman wants to discuss the World Heavyweight Championship match at Slammiversary. It was, of course, all set to be Bobby Lashley challenging Kurt Angle, and Kurt reiterates that he wants to face Bobby Lashley at that event. Storming into the office, Bryan Danielson, closely followed by Bobby Lashley. They're both still fired up. Heyman says that he has an idea, saying that he will give Bryan Danielson the opportunity to be added to this match next week in a 3-way match against opponents picked by Kurt Angle and Bobby Lashley. If he wins, the match will become a 3-way. He feels that is the fairest way to resolve this, but Kurt Angle and Bobby Lashley aren't happy with this, and Lashley specifically objects, saying that nobody should come between him and his shot at Angle. He earned a one-on-one title shot back in January that was taken away from him by the New Age, so he should, by rights, get that one-on-one rematch. Danielson adds his own suggestion, since they both think they're above him and they want so much to have this one-on-one match. When he's added to the match, they should make it an elimination. Not only will it give them the chance to take him out and have their one-on-one match in the main event of Slammiversary like they both want, it'll also let him take both men down and leave neither of them with any excuses after he makes them tap at Slammiversary. So a bold, confident Bryan Danielson here. I think it's really key in this booking. We have to make him look as strong and as worthy of this shot as possible, hence why he brought up his record being so much more superior to Bobby Lashley and him having the best record in 2011 in the entire company. Paul Heyman seems to think that that is the most reasonable compromise. He asks Kurt and Bobby if they're willing to agree with that, and ultimately, left with little choice, they say they will make that happen, but it's all shaping up for them to potentially focus on Danielson and take him out so they can have their match. A really good segment, everybody doing well off script it looks like. Gaining heat to the storyline is absolutely the key there. Very happy with how that's gone. Angelina Love then defeats Taylor Wilde in 6 minutes and 16. We did this based on eye candy because it gets better ratings. A breaker bitch following a distraction from Velvet Sky. The distraction being that Velvet throws the injured Hamada, who's had those issues with her ribs. She's thrown into these steel steps by Velvet Sky. This leaves Taylor Wilde sort of concerned about her partner, and the minor distraction allows Angelina Love to pick up the victory. The two having good chemistry also helps the match, and most importantly, we gain heat to the Knockouts Tag Team Tournament Fallout storyline, which by now should certainly be renamed, but two really good performances. Obviously, Taylor Wilde and Hamada both down, and the Knockouts Tag Team Champions stand tall in the ring. The commentators put over this upcoming title defense at Slammiversary. They're saying that 3 teams will come from all corners of the globe, and they will challenge the beautiful people who have claimed they're the best tag team in the world. We then get a promo from Jeff Hardy and Sting, and they're talking about the Kings of Wrestling, saying that in the last couple of weeks they've allowed themselves to get caught up in enjoying the fact that they're back in TNA, the fact that they're both clear to compete again, and that they can get back to doing what they love, and there's no harm in that. But now they're ready to focus on what caused each of them to miss so much time inside the 6 sides. They've watched for months from home as the New Age have prophesied and promised to change this business, but all they've seen is the same old numbers game tactics, the same old distractions and interference. Jeff Hardy and Sting are challenging Chris Hero and Claudio Castagnoli to come to them on Evolve this Saturday, go face to face, and they can bring all of the New Age with them. Jeff Hardy and Sting will be ready because they have a hell of a lot to say to that group who cost them such a large portion of the last 12 months. Both men improvising well with a decent segment, and of course it's just putting across that while they have been happy to sort of indulge in being back in the company, we have to remember that this is a very serious, very personal rivalry on Evolve. We're going to get the sort of backstory, catch people up on why it means so much to these two to get their hands on the Kings of Wrestling. It's then time for the main event, and it's a superb match, just 2/3 of last week's main event, but obviously with the fall being AJ Styles pinning Austin Aries, these two teams had some unfinished business, and we don't really get a decisive finish as Kenny King and Rhett Titus causing a distraction. The American Wolves do defeat wrestling's greatest tag team, Davey Richards pinning Charlie Haas with a Tiger Bomb, but you'd have to give a major assist to their fellow Ring of Honor alumni, the All Night Express. Described as a superb match, 72 is okay, it's not the best main event we've done, but it's surely going to be good enough for us to get a decent final rating. It does get the crowd buzzing though, and both teams showing excellent chemistry. So while the rating's not really the best we've ever done, it's all positive things between these two teams, especially seeing how good the American Wolves are, having only been in the company for such a short period. And following the match, the American Wolves and All Night Express continue to beat down WGTT. This wasn't just about getting the win, this is about sending a message to TNA after their victory over Ring of Honor on what was such a spotlighted match and show last week. They're looking to assert this dominance. Clearly they have a major attack in mind here. They want to injure and take out Hassan Benjamin, not just beat them down. Running out from the back, the Motor City Machine Guns run out. They've been wrestling as singles guys for the last few months, but this is obviously an issue that has brought them back together. They carry steel chairs down to the ring with them, given that it will be a 4-on-2 situation, and they simply swing on sight as they enter the ring. While they may have the numbers advantage, it's out of the blue, and obviously the steel chairs also means that the Ring of Honor alumni are caught off guard and they clear the ring. The Motor City Machine Guns then check on wrestling's greatest tag team. They've been brought together by the continued threat of ROH, and clearly MCMG think that they are better together and think that by standing side by side with WGTT, they also stand themselves in much better stead. We then go into the final break of the show as we come back for the contract negotiation type segment between Austin Aries and Steve Corino and AJ Styles and Paul Heyman. So all 4 of them come to the ring, AJ and Paul Heyman coming separately, but Aries and Steve Corino coming down together, showing that they obviously have a more cohesive relationship than AJ and Paul Heyman, who throughout this save haven't really seen eye to eye. With a table set up in the ring, Aries lays his title down between the 4 men. He ensures that this is the focus of the segment. We want eyes on that Ring of Honor World Championship as we talk through what is going to happen with it at Slammiversary. Paul has a proposal for Steve Corino and he asks him to take a look at it. Simply put, he wants Austin Aries to sign this contract to defend the Ring of Honor World Championship against AJ Styles at Slammiversary. This is apparently all about showing what Ring of Honor is capable of, so he will surely want to defend his title on such a big stage. AJ looks to get under Aries' skin by bringing up last week's victory over him, but Corino asks Aries to take a backseat. He's got this covered. Don't let the emotions get in the way. They are going to work something out that's best for Ring of Honor. They've already discussed this between themselves, and despite their better judgment, they're willing to put the ROH title up on a TNA show, but that's not because TNA is doing them a favour. They want something in return to make it worth their while. 24 hours before Slammiversary, TNA Evolve will air on this very network. And Steve Corino says that all the propaganda, all the pro-TNA build that we're seeing in these video packages, in these promos from all the TNA guys, that means that we're not getting a fair look at what the true story is. Therefore, if the Ring of Honor Championship is to be defended at Slammiversary, Corino wants full control of that hour of TNA Evolve, their biggest audience ever. He wants to educate fans to show them what Ring of Honor is all about. The fans in this building and watching at home are simply uneducated about what real wrestling is. They think that TNA represents professional wrestling, but once they see the real, unfiltered Ring of Honor for just 1 hour on their televisions, they'll understand what this means to them. They'll understand why it is imperative to professional wrestling that Ring of Honor continues to flourish. Paul Heyman and AJ Styles discussed this briefly between them, Corino handing Heyman his revised proposal and leaving with Austin Aries, so we don't necessarily get an acceptance, but it looks like if we want to see a Ring of Honor World Championship match at Slammiversary, AJ definitely wants that, Paul Heyman certainly wants that, then they're going to have to compromise a little bit, giving Steve Corino and Ring of Honor control of TNA Evolve just 24 hours before the pay-per-view, so the go-home build to that show will be controlled entirely by Ring of Honor. It's a decent segment that AJ Styles actually lets us down as the one struggling when going off script. Corino and Heyman both doing really, really well. We do still gain heat to the storyline though, so no complaints there. Really happy with that. And overall, it's a decent show. 75 rating, I'm happy with, no complaints. Certainly increasing popularity in 11 regions and continuing to put on good shows, I feel, on this new network. Of course, as Corino said, we also have Evolve airing on the same network, and if it's going to be Ring of Honor's Evolve next week, then this is the final TNA Evolve before Slammiversary. So let's get into it. And Evolve begins with that segment that we promoted on Impact. It's Jeff Hardy and Sting calling out the New Age. They first explain the time away. Obviously, you're hoping that TNA has gained new viewers since we last saw these two. Sting was taken out at Turning Point 2010. Chris Hero with a loaded elbow causing a concussion, a major concussion, given it kept him out for 6 months, and Jeff Hardy, who, to cover for him going to rehab, if you remember, Tyler Black defeated him in a bull rope match, and then we had him Pillmanize his neck basically, albeit it was a blackout stomp as well, and that is what kept them off screen. When the New Age come out, notable by his absence is Tyler Black. He obviously wants nothing to do with that, but it is of course something we will come back to. They want to face the Kings of Wrestling, and they see no better time than Slammiversary. Jimmy Jacobs brushes this off, playing down their claim to a tag team title shot. They're going to see up next how far away they are from the level of the Kings of Wrestling as a tag team. Challenge has been rejected, and the Kings of Wrestling are in action next, defeating two local talents, both putting in really good performances as they always do, and it is just a highlight of them, so the fact it's not that good of a rating isn't a problem at all. Jimmy Jacobs asks why Sting and Jeff Hardy deserve a shot. He's still complaining about this, not happy that they even have the cheek to suggest they should get a shot at the Kings of Wrestling. Paul Heyman comes out and explains that after what you took from them, it's pretty difficult to say that they don't deserve anything when they've each lost 6 months of their career to you. This is far from over between Jeff Hardy and Sting and the New Age. Madison Rayne then cuts a promo in the back, telling Awesome Kong to be careful what she wishes for. We saw what happened between the Amazon and Kong last week on Impact. Madison Rayne has got the official word. It'll be the Amazon versus Awesome Kong, the biggest knockouts match in history at Slammiversary. We then have an interview with Desmond Wolfe, who speaks about qualifying for the Evolve Championship match at Slammiversary. He's ready for that King of the Mountain match because he is so determined to finally get his hands on gold here in TNA. He's totally talked for a long time. Now is his chance to walk the walk. We then get the second match of the night, which is the conclusion of the Sweet and Sour Implosion storyline. Not a good performance from Matt Jackson, who was off his game, but a victory for them. Matt Jackson pinning Kazuchika Okada, following a more bang for your buck from the Young Bucks. Yoshihashi, as always, is the weak link, but with Okada's contract coming up and his impending return to New Japan, we had to give the Young Bucks the clean victory, and Larry Sweeney joins them in the ring after the match. He had a feeling this would go well. He has faith in the best young tag team in wrestling today, and that is what Sweet and Sour is all about, nurturing these prodigies, these great potential young talents. And with that in mind, he welcomes Okada's replacement, the newest signing to Sweet and Sour, and one of the best young wrestlers in the world, Magnus. So Brutus Magnus hasn't been seen for a while. We're bringing him back here, repackaging him with the future gimmick, which is pretty basic, but we want to see him develop his charisma, which we know he has. He became a big star in TNA, and it's taken a little while, but hopefully this can be the route where we actually give him some meaningful stuff to do, and I think being with Larry Sweeney is good for anybody who finds himself associated with him. We then get an interview promoting the main event, Roderick Strong talking about his match with Christopher Daniels, a legend of TNA and somebody who he may not have always seen eye to eye with, but who he knows how good he is. Austin Aries then walks onto the interview set, asking Roderick Strong if he has some time to talk, but Strong says he certainly doesn't. He's in the main event and he's got to go right now. Before that match, we get a promo from Paul London promoting next week's Battle Royal. It's the last chance match for entrance into the King of the Mountain Evolved title match at Slammiversary. El Generico will be in there, Cabana will be in there, a load of other guys from the roster will be on there, but Paul London is ready to throw all of them out and then take the Evolved Championship at Slammiversary. This could be his big break, and if he can win that Battle Royal, it'd certainly be the biggest singles match of his TNA run so far. We then go into the main event where Roderick Strong defeats Christopher Daniels. We want to put this over as a pretty big win for him. Obviously, Daniels has been booked very mid-cardy throughout this save, but it's still somebody who has a lot of credentials, who everybody respects and knows how good he is. So Roderick Strong picking up a clean victory over him as we look to sort of transition him out of the X division. Hopefully it gives him a bit more credibility. A 65 is a decent performance. Daniels always does well, also with a 71. We get the crowd buzzing, and after the match, Austin Aries comes out, going face to face with Roderick Strong, joined by the American Wolves. Now he's in the TNA Evolved Championship match. They want him to be Ring of Honor's representative. Not only that, they want to invite him to Ring of Honor's episode of Evolve next week and relive the glory years of his career. He's just playing on the fact that, of course, Strong made his name in Ring of Honor, but Roderick says he's been there and done that before. He's been dragged into a group that he wanted no part of. He is here to fight on his own, and that is exactly what he is going to do. A 74 is a solid rating, increasing our popularity in 2 regions. Basically, I think that's been a good week of build towards Slammiversary. So it is a month-long injury for Frankie Kazarian. He wasn't actually going to be in a match for Slammiversary, luckily, so we don't have to change anything there. But the Forefathers do have some involvement on that show, so something's going to have to change, but nothing major, thankfully. Thank you for watching, as always, and it is a really, really exciting time now. Slammiversary in just over 1 week's time. The next episode will be that go home show, and hopefully you will join me for that once again. Cheers.